I'm Vlad Merzliakov. I'm the Managing Editor for Overlander 4-wheel drive.
And I'm Vic Widman, Editor-at-Large at Overlander.
I'd like to welcome you all to the Overlander 4-wheel drive of the year for 2011. We're here at Cotton Tyre Service in Adelaide, and we've just taken delivery of all the vehicles for our test.
We've got 8 family 4-wheel drives that we're going to test in the outback. We're going to drive up to Port Augusta, and then we're going to head west out to the beautiful Mount Ive station in the Gawler Ranges for a few days of 4-wheel drive testing.
Well, Vic, the cars are ready, the drivers are ready. I think it's time to hit the tracks.
Let's go, mate.
All right, mate.
After 5 hours on the blacktop and with the light fading, the team finally hits the dirt and gets the first taste of their current vehicle's off-road ability on the evaluation.
We've just arrived here at Mount Ive Station, which is 520 kilometres northwest of Adelaide in South Australia's outback. Over the next few days, we're going to be testing 8 of the most popular 4-wheel drives in all types of outback terrain, from corrugated roads to deep sand and really rocky hill climbs. I can't wait to see how this pans out.
But first, we need to introduce the vehicles. We've got the Mitsubishi NW Pajero VRX. The Pajero VRX uses the optional 3.2 litre common rail turbo diesel 4-cylinder engine, mated to a 5-speed automatic transmission. It has a part-time 4-wheel drive system, and 4-wheel drive modes are selectable via cabin buttons. The suspension is coil sprung all round, mounted to independent wishbone axles front and rear. It has a recommended retail price of $70,890 with the optional diesel engine. The Land Rover Defender 110. The Defender uses a 2.4 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine, matched to a 6-speed manual transmission. It uses a constant 4-wheel drive system, and low range is selectable via a cabin lever. The suspension has coil springs all round, mounted to solid axles front and rear, and it currently has a recommended retail price just above $55,000. The Toyota FJ Cruiser. The FJ Cruiser uses the same 4-litre petrol V6 as the Prado, with a 5-speed automatic transmission. The vehicle uses a part-time 4-wheel drive system, and 4-wheel drive modes are selectable via a cabin lever. The suspension uses coil springs all round, mounted to an independent wishbone front axle and a solid rear axle. The FJ Cruiser has a recommended retail price just below $45,000. The Land Rover Discovery 4 SE. The Discovery uses Land Rover's 3-litre V6 twin-turbo diesel engine, coupled with a 6-speed automatic transmission. It uses a constant 4-wheel drive system, and low range is selectable via a cabin button with terrain response driving mode selection. The suspension includes air springs all round, mounted to independent wishbone axles front and rear. It currently carries a recommended retail price just below $82,000. The Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. This vehicle uses Jeep's new 3-litre common rail turbo diesel V6 engine, mated to a 5-speed automatic transmission. It has a constant 4-wheel drive system, and 4-wheel drive modes are selectable via cabin buttons. The optional Quadralift suspension fitted to our Tesla Laredo uses air springs all round, mounted to independent wishbone axles front and rear. The Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, as tested here with the Off-Road Adventure 2 package, retails for $54,000. The Toyota Land Cruiser 200 Altitude. This Land Cruiser uses the 4.5 litre common rail twin-turbo diesel V8 engine and a 6-speed automatic transmission. It has a constant 4-wheel drive system, and 4-wheel drive modes are selectable via cabin buttons. The suspension has coil springs all round, mounted to an independent wishbone front axle and a solid rear axle. This vehicle currently carries a recommended retail price of $90,440. The Nissan Patrol TI. All new Patrols now come with a 3-litre common rail turbo diesel 4-cylinder engine, and this TI as tested is matched to a 4-speed automatic transmission. It uses a part-time 4-wheel drive system, and 4-wheel drive modes are selectable via a cabin lever. It has coil springs all round, mounted to solid axles front and rear. The Patrol TI currently carries a recommended retail price of $71,690. And finally, the Toyota Land Cruiser Prado GXL. The Prado is fitted with a 4-litre petrol V6 engine and a 5-speed automatic transmission. It has a full-time 4-wheel drive system, and 4-wheel drive modes are selectable via cabin buttons. The suspension uses coil springs all round, mounted to an independent wishbone front axle and a solid rear axle. The Prado GXL currently carries a recommended retail price of $63,404.
I've been four-wheel driving for 22 years. Started off as an 18-year-old in an old FJ40. I've been touring the countryside all those years, and I've just joined the Overlander team, and I'm the managing editor, and I'm living the dream.
I've been four-wheel driving for 34 years. I've been running my company Great Divide Tours for 22 years. For 8 years I've been writing for Overlander magazine, and 7 of those years I've been a judge on 4-wheel drive of the year. I'm now the editor-at-large at Overlander.
I'm Dave Howard from the Pajero 4-Wheel Drive Club of Victoria. I'm the technical officer for the club, and I'm thoroughly excited about being out here at Mount Ive Station to judge these vehicles. For me, it's really good just to have a look at the different vehicles under different conditions.
G'day, I'm Matt Barnes. I'm the president of the Land Rover Owners Club of Australia, the Sydney branch. I've been four-wheel driving for over 30 years now. I've had all sorts of four-wheel drives from Suzuki's, Toyotas, Jeeps, and now I currently drive a Land Rover 110.
I'm Andrew Boyd, president of the Toyota Land Cruiser Club Sydney. I have done extensive touring throughout Australia for over 15 years and have owned quite a few four-wheel drive vehicles.
My name's David Richards from the Adelaide Niffen Patrol Club. When I was offered a chance to come up here to St Ives and be part of this group of judges on the cars, I jumped at the chance.
Hi, I'm Dave Cox. I'm from the Mount Dare Hotel on the edge of the Simpson Desert. When Overlander contacted me to do the four-wheel drive of the year test, I jumped at it.
G'day, I'm Paul from the Adelaide Jeep Club. Been four-wheel driving for about 10 years now. Really looking forward to driving all these cars and seeing what the outcome is.
After a good meal and a great night's sleep in the shearers' quarters, the team are up early and eager to head out.
I'm not really a Toyota man, but just quietly I'm looking forward to driving the FJ Cruiser. It's a bit of a unique vehicle. It's the newest model to Australia, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to having a go on it.
As a driver trainer, I get many chances to sit in many different cars, but don't get the chance to drive them. So I'm really looking forward to this weekend where I can actually get in these cars and actually try them out for myself and see the advantages of what's come along.
While the excitement starts to brew, Vic gives the drivers the rundown on exactly what is expected of them during the evaluation proceedings.
All right guys, we're about to hit the track. We've all been given the GME radios for safety purposes, so we can keep a bit of distance in the dust. Anyone got any questions?
And on that note, time to move on.
What we're doing here is running through the specifications of each vehicle with each of the road testers, just to make sure we're on the same page. We'll also run through the criteria to which they're being judged.
The vehicles will be assessed against 5 key criteria and awarded a score out of 10 for each. The criteria is as follows. Value for money. The contenders range in price from $50,000 to $100,000. This is an important factor when weighing up how much four-wheel drive you get for your dollar. Engineering. How is the vehicle built? Does it feel like it will last? The build quality of a vehicle is important if you're wanting to take it into the bush and expect it to bring you home again safely and comfortably. Functionality. How functional are these four-wheel drives? How practical are they for traversing and touring off-road in Australia? Progressiveness of design. How advanced is the design for the class of vehicle it represents? Are there any new elements of the design that make them stand out? Overlander factor. How well has the manufacturer designed the vehicle for touring? For example, how capable is the vehicle off-road? And can the vehicle be set up for extended trips? How well protected is the undercarriage and air intake? All scores will be tallied at the end of the testing period to give each vehicle a score out of 50 from each judge, with all judges' scores combined to give a total out of 400 points. The vehicle with the highest score will be named Overlander's 4-Wheel Drive of the Year for 2011.
I'm in the NW Pajero. It's not really a new model, it's just an update of the old NT. And it's not a bad mid-sized tourer. The suspension's a little bit harsh over the corrugation. It's reasonable, not too bad. The motor's quite solid, it's a good performer, and it gets you there.
This 3.2 litre diesel produces good power for its size and age, but is bettered by the new 3 litre Grand Cherokee engine in overall output and performance.
The ergonomics are quite good, good seat position, there's good visibility through all the windows, and it's got great brakes.
There's a new model Prado, and it's been around for about 12 months. This is a surprise to me. It's the independent front suspension, and it does a really good job. It's very, very smooth, and I really do like the Tiptronic gear change, which makes a hell of a difference when you're getting sand and you want to change down pretty quickly. It's just a quick touch and boom, you're down there. And it's very, very quick to change. It's a really, really smooth car, this one.
The 4 litre petrol V6 in the Prado produces excellent power and torque, and makes a very refined package when combined with the 5-speed automatic. It's important that each evaluator gets the opportunity to drive each of the vehicles at least a number of times in each different type of terrain, to make sure results are consistent and accurate.
We've just arrived at Lake Gardner. Look at that scene behind me. That white salt lake stretches for 150 kilometres. Absolutely amazing. We've come here to admire the view, and we've come here to do a driver change.
Look, this is the first time I've driven a 200 series on the dirt. It's a pleasant car, nice to drive, and it's Toyota's flagship. So look, I didn't want to be up there for being a really pleasant car, but yeah, bang for your buck. Yeah, I'm not really quite sold on that yet. I think it may grow on me when I get a few more miles in the seat. I have been thinking about buying one, but yeah, I'm not totally sold on it just yet.
Well, first time out in the new Cherokee Laredo 3-litre diesel. So far very impressed with it. It's a nice comfy ride.
The Jeep is fitted with the optional Quadra-Lift air suspension, which gives a comfortable ride in its standard setting, but topped out when at its full raised height.
It's a very stylish looking car with a new body shape. I must admit from the front, very appealing. Yes, we'll see what it's like later on.
At this year's 4-Wheel Drive of the Year, we've fitted Cooper AT3 tyres to most of the vehicles. They're an awesome tyre for this type of terrain. That means we've got a level playing field for most of the vehicles on the test.
Now everybody is very eager to push on, because after the break, the first big test of the day, the sand dunes. The evaluators are given the chance to familiarise themselves with all the vehicles over the sand course before judgments are made. Tyre pressures are dropped to a conservative 20 psi to make full use of the Cooper AT3s. It's decided that the big 200 series will go first to mark out a track. Under the bonnet, it's got a very strong twin-turbo V8 diesel with 195 kilowatts of power. A 6-speed auto gearbox, which is absolutely at home in this environment, and 18-inch alloys, which means it's getting easier to fit good off-road tyres. Just listen to that big twin-turbo engage. Next to head out is the GU Patrol. It should have no troubles at all. It's got great clearance and runs 17-inch alloys, and for a vehicle of this size, it means you can get a good contact area when airing down your tyres. It also has excellent low gearing, refined over the last 10 years, which is ideal for steep descents. The next off the rank is the Grand Cherokee Laredo. It has a great engine and gearbox combination with plenty of power and torque. The traction control system works a treat, putting drive where it's needed. but not too sure about the suspension as yet. As for the Prado, the petrol engine is well suited for this type of terrain. But as you can see, too much power can lead to excessive wheel spin in soft sand. The second time round, with more focus on momentum than wheel speed, the Prado doesn't have an issue. The Discovery 4 has been a favourite so far, but in the sand its 19-inch rim and low-profile tyre combination let it down. In fact, it's the only vehicle not to be fitted with Coopers due to its excessive wheel size. But the terrain response four-wheel drive mode selection proves very useful. It shifts the traction control threshold to suit the unique style required for sand, enabling the Discovery to traverse far more efficiently and smoothly. Now the FJ Cruiser runs the same 4-litre petrol engine as the Prado. The standard rear diff lock on the FJ literally transforms its ability off-road when it's activated. But it is 220 kilograms lighter, and in the sand this makes a huge difference. The Pajero is known for its sand ability. With its Dakar heritage, the team really did have high hopes. And they certainly weren't let down. And last but not least, the 110 Defender. With its military upbringing, has been tried and tested worldwide. As the only four-wheel drive with a manual transmission on the test, the Defender's anti-stall function holds revs at 1000 RPM if the Defender detects a risk of stalling. While we all take a breather, photographer Matt darts around trying to get that feature shot before that beautiful afternoon light fades.
Having driven all the vehicles so far on the sand, the dirt roads and the corrugation tests that we've had today, the standout at this stage, and only just, is the Discovery 4.
With the new NW Pajero, it is an upgrade, but I feel Mitsubishi haven't done enough more over the NT. After testing all these cars in this sand today, I really feel the FJ Cruiser was a standout. From a price point of view, it's a pretty good value. You can't really knock it.
Having driven the Toyota Prado 150 up from Adelaide yesterday, it performs really well on road, and having driven the Prado again today through the sand, through the rocks, it really is validated in Toyota's fleet.
It's an instant patrol, it's trusty, it's reliable, but it's getting a bit long in the tooth. We know the new one's on the way. Still as reliable as ever though.
After a very big day and finally back at the station, the team sits out under the stars to reflect on the results of the day and make sure all impressions are accounted for in their evaluation sheets. And it's not long before all turn in for another big days to come tomorrow. Following another great night at the station, the boys are very eager to get back out on the road and continue the evaluation.
I'm actually in the 2001 Nissan Patrol. I made a lie. It's a 2011, but you'd think it was a 2001 because it actually hasn't changed that much in 10 years. Which in a sense could be a good thing, but it misses out on a lot of the latest technology because of that. The highlights for me in it is satellite navigation, but anything other than that, it's very basic. It's, you know, you get in it, choose low range, away you go.
The Patrol shares its relatively old-fashioned all-solid axle, coil-sprung underpinnings with only the Defender, but is still widely known as the toughest driveline on the market.
So here we are in the 200 series. It's a beautiful vehicle, lots of power, very torquey engine, very comfortable to drive, very easy to drive, handles fantastically.
The Land Cruiser 200 Altitude seems to impress no matter what the situation. Its engine shows plenty of easy yet refined performance. Its suspension balances off-road capability brilliantly, and all combines to make the Altitude feel nimble despite its hefty curb weight.
You are just really steering and accelerating the car. The car does a lot of the driving for you.
I'm driving the Land Rover Discovery 4, and it's a beautifully appointed car, and it's got everything in it that you just about want. It's got great road manners, and it performs really well on the highway. Dirt road corrugations play havoc with it just a little, but it's more than likely due to the low profile of the tyres.
The Discovery's cross-linked air suspension lives up to Land Rover's promise of providing solid axle suspension articulation, yet with independent axle bump control and stability. As one wheel articulates upwards, the air from that spring is forced to the opposing spring, allowing downward travel and doing a great job of keeping the tyres on terra firma.
The performance from the diesel engine is something that you'd expect from a petrol engine. It's very, very surprising in how it performs. It's a beautiful looking car inside and out.
Now the team heads off in convoy for the next vehicle challenge, the Rocky Ascent.
Having just driven the FJ Cruiser up this rocky trail, I've got to say I'm really surprised. Being half the price of the big wagons, the D4 and the 200 series, it's amazing on what this thing can do. It's light, it's nimble, it's got great power, it's smooth, it's got the rear diff lock, traction control, and it's just fantastic. It's a definite contender in my books at this stage, and I just don't want to get out of it. I want to keep driving it.
I've just driven the Defender up a bit of a rocky climb, gave the opportunity to test out the traction aids that it's got. All of the vehicles have got good traction aids, and the Defender is one of the best. I found with the Defender though, that despite its coil suspension, the vehicles tended to bounce around a lot. And my right foot was bouncing up and down on the accelerator, making the car surge a little bit. That's not real good.
I've been driving the Jeep Laredo this morning, and it's quite a nice car to drive. I've just driven it up this rocky hill today, and I haven't found the full advantage of the quadrilift suspension yet, but I'm thinking that once it raises itself all the way up, it might limit its suspension travel, but we'll wait and see how that performs.
As for the Prado, the traction control really does impress in this terrain, unlike the sand where the vehicle fared better with it turned off. The Discovery 4 with its air-sprung suspension and its great all-round ability had no trouble at all riding its traction control all the way to the top. Certainly one of the more comfortable rides. The Pajero certainly has no trouble, but it's a bit of a stiff ride compared with some of the other vehicles. This may improve if the vehicle is loaded. And the Patrol, well, being the trusty 10-year-old that it is, fared well. The only letdown on occasion was the lack of a good turning circle. And last but definitely not least is the 200 series. With power to burn, it made light work of the track. And with all the vehicles nearing the summit.
Okay everyone, we've got a bit of a clearing here. We'll pull over and swap vehicles. We've just come up an awesome four-wheel drive track to the top of Mount Ive on Mount Ive Station. What an awesome view, 360 degrees all the way around, and it's blowing an absolute gale. It's 2200k behind me to Perth, it's 500k down that way to Adelaide, and it's 1800 kilometres that way back to Sydney.
Coming up after the break, the articulation test. It may not look it from a distance, but there is wildlife everywhere. As a control, in order to keep the results relevant, an extra driver has been selected to perform the articulation test, so each of the evaluators has an ideal view of the vehicle parts at play. The first in is the FJ Cruiser. It really does have significant wheel travel, and although it does lift a wheel, it goes through without any issues. Up next is the Prado. As you would expect, it has no real difficulties other than clearance of its side steps. It does lift a wheel, but from the driver's seat it's unnoticeable. It really is up at the top end of the IFS vehicles. The 200 is the superstar and is regarded as the front runner on the articulation course, especially with its long wheelbase easily keeping all four on the ground. As for the Pajero, it does surprise a few, with having excellent articulation for an independently sprung front and rear vehicle. But again, the same as the Prado, it has issues with side step clearance. The Discovery 4 again excelled, with great wheel travel and body control. In goes the solid axle Patrol. It made easy work of the course, but it didn't appear to have any advantage over the better IFS vehicles. The Jeep struggles a little with wheel travel, but at its full quadra-lift height, it does have great ground clearance. Finally, the Defender 110 should have great wheel travel, but it feels restricted and doesn't overly impress.
We've just completed the articulation test to test how much the suspension's travelling on the vehicles, and it was surprising which vehicles performed well. The independents performed better than I expected. The live axles weren't as good as, or as much an advantage as I thought they would be. Independent suspension has really come a long way in recent years, and it's certainly not a disadvantage anymore.
We just finished the articulation part of this compare off, and I thought the Patrol would romp through this with its live axles, and it's always been the accepted principle. But surprise, surprise, we had a surprise, well I did personally anyway, from the Pajero. It was a very, very well presented vehicle, and also the articulation on it was absolutely fantastic. It went through the sand and through the dunes, and the articulation, as I said, were absolutely spectacular. Can't grumble about that at all.
With the articulation course, with all the vehicles here, they've all got different suspension setups. We noticed with the Jeep it does have air suspension, so what we've done is run that through twice at different settings to see how well it performed, and it did get hung up on once or twice on the different settings.
In the heat of the day, it's time to roll in and find a shady spot for some lunch. Time to move on. On our travels around the station, there are numerous setups to test the vehicles, and going one at a time enables the other evaluators to see the other vehicles perform from the exterior. It pays off to maintain good communication. One wrong turnout here and, well, who knows where you could end up.
It was 1839. Edward John Eyre set out from Streaky Bay to walk through the Gawler Ranges across to Port Augusta. This area hadn't seen a white man before then. In 1864, Mount Isa Station was taken up. Today, there's 240,000 acres on Mount Isa Station. That's a lot of property. At the moment, they're only running 4,000 sheep because they've had bad years and lack of rain. They've opened their doors up now to tourists, and you can come out here and stay. You can stay in the shearers' quarters, or you can camp in their beautiful campground. And they've got some fantastic four-wheel drive tracks to explore.
Okay, I'm driving the Jeep Cherokee Laredo. The four-wheel drive operation of the vehicle is a little bit difficult. You have to get used to pressing a myriad of different buttons. You can choose from sport, snow, sand, rock, or just have it on auto. I seem to find the best is to have it on auto and basically let the vehicle operate how it likes to operate. And what I also do is I adjust the ride height around 70 mil from the bottom of the suspension to the top of the suspension. But other than that, it handles quite well. The stability control that it has, the traction control that it has, and the hill descent control that it has are all great features. The only downside it is the operation of the suspension system. It bangs and clunks when you're forward driving, which makes it quite uncomfortable, but maybe that's how the way the vehicle operates.
Time to move on to the corrugation test. Now the wind has really picked up. Just look at that dust. The corrugation's where the 200 series really shows a point of difference. It really is a smooth ride. The Discovery 4 is right up there for absorbing the corrugations, but the guys communally think it would be even more so with a practical wheel setup. Again, the Pajero feels a little bit too hard at speed, but may improve with load. The Prado performs as one of the best, absorbing the road and never wandering like a couple of the others. And the Jeep, well, it really does do better than expected. It almost has a road-like feel, possibly due to the airbags. The Patrol fares reasonably well for a solid axle vehicle, but it does suffer from cabin noise and can be a bit skittish in the corners. The FJ Cruiser handles the corrugations well. As for the Defender, well, it really struggles to get up around the 100 kilometres an hour mark on the dirt, and it suffers greatly from road noise. It really isn't well soundproofed.
Okay, I'm driving the Defender 110 at the moment. I've managed to wrestle it out of the hands of the other guys, and the ride is a little bit firm, but you've got to remember these things don't have any weight in them at the moment. Comfort level for me, I'm quite happy with it because I'm a Defender driver, so that's not a problem for me. The other guys aren't real happy with it. It's a little bit cramped here, but I got used to that over the years. The power in it is quite surprising for a small diesel. It keeps up with some of the other cars quite well, and I was very impressed with the small 2.4 litre motor.
Time to head back to the station. Around the campfire, there is a real buzz in the air. as the evaluations have been handed in by the drivers and the work, if you can call it that, is done.
Beauty, thanks very much, Vlad. All right, well, first of all, guys, thanks very much for all your input over the last few days. It's been fantastic. Overlander 4-wheel drive of the year 2011, the results are in, and starting from the bottom, we have in 8th position the Defender 110.
The pros are great load carrying capacity, ultra low first gear, well matched engine and transmission, and solid axles and coil springs front and rear.
7th place, we've got the Grand Cherokee Laredo.
Pros for the Jeep are great value for money, performance from the new diesel engine, comfortable interior, and good underbody protection.
Next we have the Nissan GU.
The pros are solid axles and coil springs all round, proven chassis strength, good ground clearance, and huge aftermarket support.
In 5th position is the Pajero NW.
The pros for the Pajero are plenty of underbonnet room, great 4-wheel drive selection, factory rear differential lock, and steel bash plate.
In 4th place, and I'll give you the points, on 310 points, the FJ Cruiser. Bit of a surprise.
Pros for the FJ are excellent value for money and relatively low purchase price, great off-road capability out of the box, unique styling that somehow appeals to young and old, ready-made aftermarket support.
We have a tie, would you believe, for 2nd between the Disco 4 and, surprisingly, the Land Cruiser Prado. They're on 315.5.
The pros are excellent responsive engine, comfortable ride in all conditions, great braking performance, and its off-road capability.
The Land Cruiser Prado.
The pros are great family wagon, comfortable interior, good fuel capacity, and great traction aids.
Which means that the Overlander 4-wheel drive of the year for 2011 is the Land Cruiser 200 on 337 points.
The pros for the Land Cruiser are plenty of power and torque for towing, fantastic suspension setup from standard, heaps of room for a full family, and refrigerated centre console.
I think congratulations are in order for Toyota for the 200 series winning Overlander 4-wheel drive of the year 2011. Also for the high placings of the Prado and the FJ Cruiser. Very glad, being a Land Rover nut, that the Discovery 4 got up there in 2nd place as well.
After a great few days of 4-wheel driving and some really worthy winners, I was kind of surprised the FJ Cruiser didn't rate a bit higher. The moment I jumped in the car, I was very impressed with it. For me, it was a real surprise package. I just wanted to drive it all day long.
Yeah, I was quite surprised the Jeep came second last, but the general consensus around the traps was that if they'd supplied a car without the air suspension, probably would have rated a bit higher. Pretty surprised where the Pajero came as well. It was a reasonably good car, but unfortunately didn't get the scores.
So there we go. Overlander 4-wheel drive of the year for 2011 goes to Toyota Land Cruiser 200 series. It's a worthy winner too. It's excelled in every aspect of our testing. You could jump in that 4-wheel drive and drive across Australia tomorrow. What a fantastic outcome.
So there you have it, the results of the 2011 Overlander 4-wheel drive of the year. A couple of surprises and a great few days had by all. If you would like a more in-depth review of each of these vehicles from the evaluation, grab a copy of this month's Overlander 4-wheel drive magazine. We'll see you next time.
The value in 4-wheel drive tyres is in the tyres tread. The deeper the tread, the more kilometres you get, the more money you save. You may pay a few dollars more for this Cooper ATR, but you get at least 30% more tread compared to original tyres. For example, on this Prado, compared to original tyres, Cooper ATR gives you an average of 57% more tread. That can save you hundreds of dollars over the life of the tyres. It's Cooper's deeper tread that saves you money.
Call 1300 Cooper for your nearest dealer.
Now, if you'd like some more information on tyre pressures, pick up a free info pack on Cooper tyres. This Cooper tyre info pack is essential for all four-wheel drivers because it contains information on tyre pressures, balancing, speed ratings and much more. Call 1300 266 737 or you can go to the website to get this free info pack right now.